Hello, my name is Seung I'm from the Kyung University. I will present about the development and verification of validity of social adaptation skill for the adolescents. Our content is as follows. Introduction. Social adaptation refers to how to solve problems while interacting with the social environment, lead a stable life, maintain an independent life that can satisfy oneself and adapt to society in harmony with the social environment. Through personal and social independence, it also shows the ability to run about, and live as a member of society. In particular, social adaptation refers to the state of the adjustment that exists between an individual's environment or the process of adjustment that creates such a state. Therefore, adaptation to school becomes school adaptation. Adaptation to work becomes workplace adaptation, and adaptation to society becomes social adaptation. In other words, the area of adaptation is first, adaptation to work or school, second, adaptation to social activities, third, adaptation as parents, fourth, adaptation as boss, fifth, adaptation with relatives, and sixth, adaptation to family, etc. It can be classified in many different ways. To adolescents, unlike adults, social adaptation refers to adaptation to school, which represents the most important adaptation to school life. Adaptation to friends, which represents the most important relationship with friends during adolescence. And adaptation to family, which represents the relationship between families experienced during adolescence. Therefore, in this study, social adaptation, the period of adolescence can be said to be a period of growth, as well as a period of experiencing physical, social, and environmental changes. Therefore, it can be said that it is very important for adolescents to grow up healthy, not only for individuals, but also for society as a whole. In order for adolescents to grow up as healthy members of society, the surrounding environment is important, and in particular, they should pay attention to the relationship and adaptation to school, family, and friends. The purpose of this study is to develop a social adaptation scale that can measure the degree of adaptability to school, friends, and family recognized by adolescents. Based on the social adaptation scale developed through this study, the degree of social adaptation recognized by adolescents can be confirmed. In particular, the identified level of social adaptation can be used as important data to improve the effectiveness of social service programs provided to improve the social adaptation of youth. Second, theoretical background. Uh, in this part, the concept of social adaptation and necessary to develop a social adaptation scale. um, Adjustment in the general dictionary meaning is adjustment or adaptation to certain conditions or circumstances or physical, psychologically, the environment and life are in harmony or in such states. As a social animal, humans begin to form closer relationships with family members, such as parents and siblings in the early stages of life, and gradually expand the social relationships by forming new relationships with adults and peers other than family members as age increases. Adaptation in general sense consists of two kinds of process. Adapting oneself to a given environment and actively changing the environment to satisfy one's needs. In this respect, good adaptation means acting voluntarily, taking risks and making the most of the environment rather than throwing yourself to the environment as an active relationship between the individuals and the social environment, including family members. In terms of scholars' definition of social adaptation, Schaeffer's defined social adaptation as a harmony between individual needs and society and environment, citing the theory of desire dissatisfaction. Adams defines as an individual's ability to respond and effectively adapt to the society and environment. Says so social adaptation as the process of becoming a member of society by learning the cultural attitudes, values, and roles of the groups to which an individual belongs. And Carver viewed the social adaptation as one of the constituent areas that constitute the social competence and define the how socially an individual expands and achieves valid goal as social adaptation. In Korea, Kim and Roll describe adaptation as two types of processes. First, adaptation is a process of adapting oneself to a given environment. And second, it is defined as a process of changing the environment in order to satisfy one's needs. All viewed social adaptation as a process in which humans adapt themselves to a given environment and actively change the environment in order to meet their own needs and desires. In other words, she regarded it as an ability to live as an ability to live a member of a society by learning how to adapt to the society to which they belong, as an individual's ability to harmonize with the social environment to which they belong. In study of Kang, social adaptation was viewed as the ability to tolerate changes in the social environment and respond appropriately to them. Based on this concept of adaptation and social adaptation, it can be seen that social adaptation reflects a sense of belongings to society and the needs of society and implies a recognition of the role of social norms and ethical value. In other words, it is a process that satisfies an individual's mental ability and skills, physical, social, and environmental needs, and requires appropriate qualities, which includes the characteristics of emotional stability and interpersonal relationships. In addition, it can be said that the social adaptation is a concept, meaning an individual changes and depends on the influence of other people at various levels, and family, co-workers, local communities, and the society. A second, the literature review about the measurement of social adaptation. Despite the importance of adolescents' adaptation to school, friends, and family, research on measuring tool for adolescents' social adaptation is limited. And most studies on measuring tools for social adaptation have been conducted with others. A measuring tool for degree of social adaptation in adult was first developed by Westman and Boswell of the United States. They projected the self-reported social adjustment scale, which is directly written by individuals themselves, which consists of 42 question items. In particular, they measured the social adaptation in the last 2 weeks in 7 areas: work life, social and leisure activities, relationship with relatives, role as spouse, role of parents, relationship with family, and economic relevance. It is a 5-point record scale, and the higher the score, the more severe the maladjustment. Wassman and Boswell social adaptation scale was adapted to fit the characteristics of the UK, which was developed by Cooper and colleagues in 1982. The scale they developed consists of 45 questions in a total of 6 areas, exclude economic difficulties, and is a 5-point Likert scale that measures the experience over the past 2 weeks, similar to the Westman and Boswell scales. And third, the social adaptation measurement for the adolescents and its components. The social adaptation of adolescents and adults should be classified because the given circumstances are difficult. But until now, no research has been conducted on the element or measuring tool that explain the social adaptation of adolescents. Therefore, in this study, the constituent elements of adolescent social adaptation were derived through prior studies on the adaptation of adolescents and social adaptation studies conducted on adults. In particular, in order to develop a scale to measure the degree of social adaptation of adolescents. In this study, based on the concept suggested by Cooper and colleagues, the dimensions to constitute social adaptation are divided by 3. First, adaptation to school, and second, adaptation to friends, and third, adaptation to family. As adolescents prioritize stability in school life rather than social life, work or social adaptation can be measured as a school adaptation. In addition, adaptation to relatives, spouse, and parents was unified as a family adaptation suitable for adolescents. And friend adaptation was added in consideration of the importance of companionship and characteristics of adolescents. Research method. The first, the process of social adaptation scale development. In order to develop a social adaptation scale for adolescents in this study, a survey was conducted using a primarily social adaptation scale derived by randomly selected 300 students from elementary to high school living in Daegu City. The survey was conducted face-to-face. A total 242 students who were participated in the survey, and the response rate to the questionnaire was 80%, of which a total of 215 questionnaires were used, excluding 25 questionnaires with unscrupulous answer. The questions on the social adaptation scale for adolescents are consisted of 20 questions in 3 areas: school adaptation, friend adaptation, and family adaptation, based on previous study. On data analysis, this study used the following data analysis method in developing the social adaptation scale. First, the number of factors was determined based on the theological background and previous research on social adaptation. And on the basis of this item were extracted around the factors constituting social adaptation. In addition, a revised and supplemented primarily scale was derived through expert interviews to verify the content, validity of the extracted factor and questions. Second, among the items extracted through confirmatory factor analysis targeting the primarily scale for which factor and variable were first determined. Variables that were difficult to classify into any factor were factors that hinder model fit were removed. The reason for attempting confirmatory factor analysis without going through exploratory factor analysis was that the number of common factor of the social adaptation scale was extracted as a 3. After the theoretical background of social adaptation and the process of exploration through the previous research, analysis, and because the common factors were confirmed and the question items were revised and supplemented from the expert. In other words, it can be said that the constitution factor of social adaptation for adolescents were determined in advance without going through exploratory factor analysis. Oh, next is the result. Uh, First, the general characteristic of the survey participants. That result is as follows: gender 200. I using the data 270 students. That is the model confirmatory factor analysis. And next is the social adaptation scale model fit. Absolute fit index chi-square is 54.728. That is the significant effect on this model. And GFI 0.953. RMSEA is 0.077. And incremental fit index is also suitable. IFA 0.971 and TLI is 0.956. CFI is 0.971. Parsimony fit index also suitable. PNFI 0.633. PCFI 0.647, AGFI 0.915. And the final model factor analysis of social adaptation scale that remains the Q4 and 5. That is the school adaptation, that divided the school adaptation. And the question 13 and 14 and 15 is divided about the friend adaptation. And question 16 and 17 and 19 divided about the family adaptation. This is final conclusion and recommendation. The purpose of this study is to develop a social adaptation scale that can measure adolescent social adaptation. In order to achieve the above research goal, items were selected based on the prior research, and the factor analysis was conducted. Therefore, in this study, the item judged to be incompatible with the social adaptation scale was removed. And finally, a scale composed of 9 items in 3 conducted to verify the contract validity of the developed scale. It can be expected that it will have to confirm the achievement of the goal and the limitation of social service program for use, and to prove the effectiveness of the service. In addition, it can be expected that it will have to confirm the achievement of the goal and the limitation of social service programs for use, and to prove the effectiveness of the service. The limitation of this study as follows. In order to develop a social adaptation scale, it is difficult to guarantee representativeness because data was collected for adolescents receiving social services in this city, Korea. In future follow-up studies, it is proposed to collect and study data from respondents from other regions. Thank you for attention this presentation.